Mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, sisters and brothers, friends for life. We won't live in the past. We're making it last.
How can poor sleep damage your brain? This is Making It Last podcast, where it's all about helping us to have better relationships, not just with ourselves, with other people. I'm Noreen Daly, and that is what we're going to be unpacking this time around with Dr. Barry Krakow. He is a board certified internist, he's a sleep medicine specialist, and he's the author of the book Life Saving Sleep New Horizons in Mental Health Treatment. Welcome, Barry.
Good to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Poor sleep. How do you define what poor sleep is? Since some people might say that's relative.
Absolutely, it's relative. We
Mhm.
all tend to normalize our sleep, but poor sleep in general means fragmented sleep. Fragmented sleep is a tricky issue. Let's take the example of you wake up at night. Well, everybody wakes up at night, but amongst normal sleepers, there is the tendency to roll over, go back to sleep, and they're awake for such a short time, they don't even know they woke up. They just maybe remember they rolled over. Often they don't. So that would be normal sleep. Poor
Mhm.
sleeper would be the opposite of that. The person's tossing and turning, they're waking up a lot, and they are noticing it. And of course, the next day is the big one. They
Mhm.
notice that they don't feel rested.
Rested. Okay. Okay. How then can this damage your brain?
That's the most important question in sleep medicine today because we now understand what sleep is really all about. Many people for decades and to this day, I should say for centuries, if not millennia, discount sleep, disrespect it, make odd comments like, well, I'll sleep when I'm dead.
Mm,
I
I've
have my
heard that.
doubts about that. I don't think we sleep when we're dead, personally. I think we got a lot of work to do after we're dead. So what happens is if you take this concept of sleep fragmentation, you say, well, if sleep isn't supposed to be fragmented and you're supposed to have this consolidated sleep and this restorative sleep, what exactly is doing that? Like what's making your sleep so good? And you can kind of work backwards and start with, well, if you've had a great night of sleep, how do you feel the next day? Well, the
Mm,
answer is you feel great. So now you should be thinking, well, wait, if I just spent 6, 7, or 8 hours sleeping and I actually feel great the next day, gee, that must mean that sleep is doing something for me to make
mm,
me feel that way. So sleep doctors and people with common sense have known that forever, all right? But only in the last decade have we learned this amazing research showing that the brain has a cleaning mechanism that runs when you sleep. And when does it run best to clear out all the metabolic waste inside the brain?
mm-hmm.
In the deepest of sleep. So now we're
Mm,
talking about a actual physiological process that's so important for why you don't wake up in the morning with brain fog. You wake up in the morning with a clear head and you're ready to go and you don't even need caffeine to start the day. And so what we now
mm,
know is, and this is a very clear point,
mm-hmm.
if you suffer from sleep fragmentation, all these interruptions, that technically is brain damage because that means that system is no longer operating the way it was supposed to operate. You're now going to have cognitive problems, problems with memory,
Mm-hmm.
attention, and
Mm-hmm.
concentration. Those are the three big ones. Extremely common amongst people who report the problem of poor sleep quality.
What then, if you recognize that that seems to be your reality, for whatever reason, poor sleep, what then can you do to then minimize this damage? Or if it has already or if it has already started, is there some way you can actually slow the process down, or is it inevitable that once it has started, you will just feel the effects at some point? That's like a 2-point question, really.
These are great questions because most people are really missing out on what they can benefit by investigating vigorously what's going on with their sleep. I've treated individuals in their 70s, 80s, and 90s who've gotten considerable benefit by discovering they had a sleep breathing disorder, as one example, particularly that example. For example, cardiovascular health is directly linked to sleep breathing. So you would want to know about it right away. But let's go back to the cognitive. Most people, if they will invest the time and energy sometime before the age of 60, and preferably before the age of 40, but again, all the way up to 60 or 70, seen many people report cognitive improvements in memory, in attention, in concentration once they got their sleep quality problem fixed, which in many cases, if it's a sleep breathing disorder, means they have to use one of these PAP machines, which of course sounds like a non-starter for many people who wants to put this big bulky machine on, and learn to sleep with it. But once you get the benefit, you tend to fall in love with the machine, as I did about 20 plus years ago. I used one every night, and I absolutely noticed an improvement in my memory, my attention, my concentration. I was in my early 50s at the time. I'm in my mid 70s now, and I would never sleep without this device. That's how restorative it is for my sleep. And to go back to our main theme here, that when you get this quality sleep and you are nourishing your brain, so to speak, with good sleep, you are a better person to be in a relationship with someone, because you're going to be less reactive, less irritable, and not to mention you're going to be smarter and have more judgment about, the things that you should be doing right in a relationship.
This is an important conversation that we're going to continue right after we take this break and get a word from our partners.
Making it last is all I care to do. You loving me, I loving you. Mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, sisters and brothers, friends for life.
For all your events such as educational forums, workshops, book launches, weddings, and more, contact Noreen Daly, the ultimate MC and event host. Visit noreendaily.com or follow her on Instagram at Noreen Daily Jam. Noreen Daily, creating long-lasting memories.
You can't live your best life without a healthy immune system. Boost your immune system the delicious way with Zappy's organic juices and punches. Made from local produce with zero added sugar, our juices cleanse and revitalize your body as they boost your natural immunity. Try our delicious flavors: Beat It, Berry Bomb, Get Fresh, Ton Up, and Island Splash. Find us on Instagram at Zappy's Organics, or call or send a WhatsApp message at 1-876-779-8910 to order today. That's 1-876-779-8910. Zappy's Organic Juices and Punches. Live your best life today.
Langdo Language Institute was created to meet your language and communication needs. All of our packages were created just for you. We are passionate about language and dedicated to your success. We offer the CSEC English program, the Study Buddy program, the Get Ahead with English program, and the Business Communication program. Contact us at 767-285-0938 or email us at langdolanguage@gmail.com. Because the real question is, how can we help you?
Making it last is all I care to do. You loving me, I loving you. Mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, sisters and brothers, friends for life.
Sleep. How important is it? Let's continue the conversation. There are some persons who are going to listen and watch this and say, it's easy for you to say you live in a first world country, you have access to all of these resources. I'm here, I live in Jamaica, or I'm in another, developing country or third world, whatever way they want to label us sometimes. I don't have the access, as you're talking about. How then can I do something about this poor sleep that I know that I'm getting?
Right. So in my book, Life Saving Sleep, with respect to the specific problem of sleep disordered breathing, I address just what you said, but for a different reason. And that
Okay.
is that even here in the United States, many people don't even want to use these PAP machines. They're
Okay.
very much against it. It's like, it's just such a big hassle. And one day the technology will be better and we'll find a better way to treat sleep disordered breathing. So my book has a whole lengthy section or two sections on what we call early conservative treatment approaches to sleep disordered breathing.
Okay.
And it turns
Okay.
out there's a lot of things that you can do for yourself having to do with treating nasal breathing, treating the position of sleep that you are in for most of the night. And these steps, even though they sound very small, they can actually have a difference in the quality of your sleep. And at that point, what tends to happen, no matter where you're living, because I actually work with people all over the world, people start realizing this is a really big deal and I want to find the resources somehow, some way. And of course, CPAP machines are commonly, what's the word, not put in the trash, but discarded by people who don't use them. That means there's literally hundreds of thousands of CPAP machines out there that somebody is trying to sell on eBay or some other place. So these machines can be obtained and people can actually get PAP in the most unusual ways nowadays because so many people try to use them and won't use them.
What's the average cost for one of these machines?
Well, CPAP machines and that equipment in the United States, you can get machines for between $300 to $500.
Okay.
You have to buy tubes and masks, which could be another $100. But again, online, depending upon where you live, what the resources are, people are marketing these things. Again, many different marketplaces sell these things for cheaper opportunities. Some people would do this like a bulk sale in a community. There'd be like 10 people say, hey, let's go get 10 CPAP machines. Let's see if we can get a deal somewhere and get 10 machines. It's likely that online somebody could find that and help out a community because 10 people could then start sharing those machines as long as they do the proper cleaning.
Are there natural ways of getting the same effect as from one of those machines that you're speaking of?
Right. That gets into the area that's more controversial. In other words, if I said yes, I could say if you have dentists in your area that have learned to manufacture these dental devices
Okay.
that actually hold the jaw in a certain position. That can make a difference. But in terms of the controversy, there's other kinds of breathing exercises you can read about online that people talk about and say these can make a difference. There's people talking about tongue exercises. Again, when I say controversial, I don't mean that these things aren't useful to look into. I mean controversial because they require a tremendous amount of dedication to apply them to get the benefit. Many of these things have been shown to give benefit, but it's often a long struggle to go down that pathway. Then again, like you're saying, if you don't have access to other resources, maybe you'll have the motivation to do it.
Okay. As we're wrapping up, Barry, I'm gonna think as somebody who's quite skeptical and quite cynical, who will say, I'm at a certain age now. I believe that sleep is important. However, because of all the different responsibilities I might have, sometimes I might not necessarily have the time to ensure that I actually get better sleep. What would be your response to somebody like that?
So that actually is a clinical question we deal with all the time. It's the concept of you can bring a horse to water, but you don't know whether the horse is going to drink or not. And so in medicine, we learned there's a concept called treatment seeking and treatment resistance. And a lot of this, regardless of the age, an individual has to be able to connect the dots that I have this issue, that if I treat my sleep, I understand that I have a chance to get better. I think I'm going to do it. When a person doesn't make that connection, they won't do it. That's very, very true for sleep. But the biggest obstacle, people have so much trouble believing that sleep could have that much influence on something like high blood pressure or cardiovascular health or strokes or Alzheimer's disease. People just can't see that sleep could be that big a deal. And so that requires more effort to read about it and learn about it and go, gosh, this stuff is really big. Maybe I should take it seriously.
Okay. And I believe that's an excellent note to end on. Thank you so much for sharing, Barry. This was Making It Last podcast, where it's all about helping us to have better relationships, not just with ourselves, with other people. I'm Noreen Daly. Until next time.
Mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, sisters and brothers, friends for life. We won't live in the past. We're making it